part of it was just being outside. I would always be outside. Grew up in the lakes with exposed rocks all over, and also, I will say I had a fantastic earth science teacher. That was in middle school for me at that age, so that really got the ball rolling. A very excitable earth science teacher, and that, I try to do the same to communicate my excitement for the science to my students, and I would say that was probably one of the first times I remember of in reverse that happening. And part of it too is I'm quite quantitative, and so thus melding earth science and physics, and that puts me into geoscience and geophysics. In middle school, I had some science teachers that really made it fun. So really hands-on in terms of the labs and the teaching, lots of demonstrations, and that really got me excited. I was one of those kids that was always outside playing in the dirt and rocks anyway, but where learning the content with these hands-on activities was really great, that you were active learning in those techniques, not just getting talked at or reading and taking notes. When I started high school, I was pretty certain that I wanted to be a teacher. My mother was a substitute teacher when I was growing up, so I got to see that side of it. But more or less when I started high school, in my mind at that point, I was like, I think I'm going to be a teacher. I really like trying to get undergraduates involved in research. So I usually look at the junior or senior level, especially students that are thinking of going to grad school. I know as someone who frequently gets, applications to grad school, that undergraduate research projects really matter in that process. So I try to get students involved and get them, out of the textbooks only and applying what they're learning to research projects. You have to temper yourself based on students who come in, their backgrounds and their skill sets. But still, based on those, I try to assess what a student can do, but I set the bar really high. In undergrad, I had a professor who, he was my advisor, and he was teaching a class, and it was one of these big auditorium classrooms that had the sliding chalkboards. I don't know if I've even seen one of those recently, but I still remember this. His name was Hobart King. At the beginning, he drew a line on the chalkboard and then pushed it all the way up to the ceiling. And so those are my expectations for you, to the class. And so that has stuck with me. And so, yeah, I tell my students that I'm going to expect a lot. And I also expect that, once I get the ball rolling and get them going, that they need to be self-motivated to complete it. That I'm not someone that will, pester or chase you. You signed up for a master's, which it signified that you wanted to get a master's. Now you have to do the work to get there. But different students, also, students that come in and want to go into industry versus academia versus a government lab, I tailor what their work projects will be based on that, because to make sure they're getting the skills that will make them successful in their next step. I very much try not to be a puller. In the sense that I like to, set a fire at the beginning and let that drive the students forward.